Hello, this is Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am here to share with you this week's energy forecast. And I sit here feeling the energy of this week, not only because we've got a big full moon in Leo, but there is also the energy of love around us because we're coming into the week of Valentine's. And whether we like that or not, whether we think that's a commercial, whatever about the saint or whatever your story is around that, we all project many things on these different events, don't we? I feel that I really just appreciate the energy of love. I love seeing love hearts and roses, and it really, really makes me feel good this week. I love going to the florist and seeing all those beautiful, pink and reds in the shops. Energetically, it has a profound effect on me. And I am Venus ruled as a Taurian, so the idea of love and romance and beauty and luxury is actually spine tingling for my whole being. So I love this week, and I want to bring that energy in that we can kind of demonize or not see the hidden truths as well. It's not being naive about these things, but it's about trying to feel when a good energy, a good frequency, and love is always good comes around, and how we might kind of pull that down or reject it from our own psyche. And I used to do this with Valentine's. I actually used to reject it, saying, oh, it's commercial and all of those things. But it was actually when I started to work with that through Jungian analysis that I realized that I was actually rejecting it because there was a wound there and there was other stuff going on around that whole symbology. So, having got past that and begin to embrace Valentine's again, I want to talk about love and relationships as the theme, mainly about for this week. Now, this has been an undercurrent for the last few weeks. There's been so much in the collective psyche with regard to love, relationships, and specifically as we come into this energy, we're trying to redefine what love is. What does love mean to us? What do we expect from it? What do we project on it? Have we actually made the realization that love is within our own self and that the amount of love that is within ourselves is often projected out? So when we're left bereft and heartbroken from a separation, and we need to pull back the projections and realize that that love was all coming from you anyway, and you were just finding something to project it on. And all those projections on that person are valid and real. You've experienced deep connection, intimacy, all those things that you now miss have to pull back and say, okay, I need to find a home for this. And where do I put it? This has been big teachings for me over the last months because of my own personal situation and redefining what love is, redefining how we want to be loved and how we love ourselves. So it's a big one. It's about, this is kind of a big, huge theme. And being under this current situation. So the whole week really is about embracing our genuine authenticity and our heart-centered expression, thinking about love, feeling love, and what wants to be done with it. I think the first place we need to look at is how we actually love ourselves and how this illumination of the full moon will allow us to authentically express love in ourselves. Love within the self is also a manifestation outside of itself as creativity, personal desires, longs, wantings. That's love. Like, how much do we love ourselves that we will move obstacles out of our way to live the kind of lives that we want? I think because of this Leo energy, particularly, it's focused on exactly that self expression, creativity, personal desire, but the collective responsibility as well. Like, how do we love others? Not just those we're in relationship with, but generally humans, animals, all of it in creation. What is our relationship of love like with the whole collective? And it will become, because it's opposing the sun in Aquarius, there's a call to harmonize individual love with a community awareness. So think about that. Just spend a minute about how you love yourself, how you love others, and how that love is also shown within your collective community, within the community, your family, your siblings, your people around you, the village, the town, the world. What is that relationship like? So there's more to cover in love. I think redefining how we love ourselves this week, for me particularly, is about how can I bring the energy of this Valentine's that I absolutely adore and bring it home inside of me. So that will mean for me like having roses in the house. I bought myself this beautiful little love heart notebook the other day and taking myself out for a really beautiful meal on Friday with my girlfriends. We're going for a really posh meal. And then the evening, I'm gonna, have a really good pamper or whatever. I need to think about what I'm not expecting, basically. When we're in relationship, we expect, don't we? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't expect to receive because we should be giving and receiving. But when we're on our own, it's more about like, am I just going to sit and cry or am I going to poo bar it because there's no one else? Well, you're in your life. So how would that manifest for you? What beautiful things, loving thing can you do for yourself this week? You don't even have to do it on the 14th. It can be done anytime this week. So this morning, for example, I got up, I put a pan of beautiful chai on the stove. Like I'm gonna really boil myself in this loving energy and really serve myself first and foremost. And then I'll be thinking about how I extend that love out to others, probably tomorrow. So I'm making a real spiritual intention of the love energy in the air. And that could be something that you decide to focus on too. I think it's important that we understand once we've kind of nailed how do we love ourselves, is how do we want to be loved? And how we want to be loved is really important because it's again about a self reflection. Like, do you offer that yourself? So, if you want to be loved and you want to be really listened to in love, then do you listen to your inner self? If you want to be loved and you want to be given gifts, do you gift yourself? If love is deep intimacy, are you intimate with yourself? All of this comes back to that. And that's when we feel empty, when we feel that it always comes from the outside. So knowing what you want on an inner plane allows you to really unfold and reveal to others what it is that you want on the external. Like, how do you want to be loved? What does that look like for you? And I think it's crazy that in the world's collection of relationships, probably very few people are speaking to this on a deeper level. Why is it that it's so kind of embarrassing or shameful or whatever emotion you hold around that to be able to say, this is how I need to be loved? These are the things that I feel speak a love language to me. And declare them, write them up, post them on your fridge, post them on your social media. How do you want to be loved? So I'm going to be posting that in my groups and hoping that some of you start to post what you feel it is to be loved. And then the third point actually I want to talk about is the balance of giving and receiving, and that has been something that's really deeply come up when I work with women. I often get women saying, "Well, the guy doesn't do this and he doesn't do this and I need this and I need that." And when I bring the question back to them and say, "Well, what do you offer?" it can stump them. And I think it's really important to understand that love is a giving and receiving. Love is that interplay of giving and receiving. Now, I'm not preaching here because by all stretch of the imagination, I have not nailed this at all. And because of my own upbringing and wounds, I'm an overgiver. I overgive, and receiving is difficult for me. And that's also because I'm deeply rooted in animus masculine energy. So for me, it's been about coming into this next part of my life as a woman heading towards her 50s of thinking about, I want to really think about how I receive as well as give. I'm well aware of all the things I give. I could write you a 20-page essay on that. And when I write down in the opposition of what I'm prepared or willing to receive, it's minimal. And that's a big thing I need to work on. If I'm giving, I I've always felt, oh, give, 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 and that receivership was something that was kind of you just give and you kind of hope that you get received. It just doesn't work like that. It needs more consciousness. So the consciousness that I'm working on is the balance of giving, receiving. Are you always someone that's expecting to receive, yet not really made conscious what it is you're giving? And I think once we do that, we start to open an energetic portal that becomes more aware and conscious of the giving and receiving, you know, energetics, and that begins to come into our lives, and we can actually vocalize that with others that we fall in love with, others that we date, family situations with your child. What are we giving and receiving to each other? What is that exchange between us, and are we happy with that? And so this is all like deep communication, isn't it? It's really deep in communication. It also collides with the fact that, Mars is in Cancer and it's in retrograde. So it's prompting us to be introspect regarding our emotional drives and how we value and assert ourselves. So it will bring up emotional patterns related to your family, to your home, to your relationships, on how you've been navigating that, maybe from old wounds, maybe from sense of lack, or maybe from expecting too much. You'd have to go through that terrain to find out what's been going on for you. But the Venus on the 4th of February entered Aries, and that has been asking us to begin to infuse our relationships with more passion, more spontaneity, a desire to experience more in the relationship. And this can only be done when we are taking an initiative to be more conscious of the workings of our love, our relationships, and then valuing the relationship, but also valuing the independence within us. Are we enmeshed? Are we working alongside? Are we co creating? But where is our independence and where do we become too dependent? I think that's all worth looking at as well within this week. So there's a lot about balancing love, knowing what we're giving and receiving. And Venus in Aries really allows us to have a bold approach to love and relationships. It's time to take risks. It's time to pursue new connections. It's time to reignite passion, but with that learning that you've gone through recently at the very forefront of your consciousness. This is where I got it wrong before. This is what I now need to do in this new situation, or even if it's an older relationship, the new relating in an old relationship. How do I navigate this terrain with this knowledge? So, for example, for me, how do I learn to receive and notice when I'm over giving? That's really important for me as I move forward. And also things like, what things have been ruling you in your relationship patterns that you have been healing and changing. And just to make sure that the old energy of you, so like my old animus, very masculine driven in relationship, that's got to change and make way for the new feminine way of relating, because it was so out of balance, feminine overgiving, masculine driving, structuring. No wonder relationships are out of balance for me. So it's about bringing that new information, that new learning, that stuff you've done on yourself, you've been working with, into this new phase as a wise, expressed woman of deep knowledge about herself. So yeah, it's again introspection. It's about really feeling how you can and want to bring love into your life, and questions like, am I being fully seen and appreciated and valued in my relationship? And if not, can you come into communication about that? Do I allow myself to receive love, admiration, and care? Or do I always take the role of giver? Or do I take the role of receiver? Do I express gratitude to my partner or people in my life? Or do I just take the love for granted? I think these are really important questions that would bring you through this week with some consciousness towards how this energy is going to fuel us, how it's going to help us in love, and how it's going to bring us into, more play, more passion, more romance, more sensuality, more love. So, key things to work on in this love energy is express your love boldly and passionately, address your imbalances in love, rekindle romance and excitement, even if that's for yourself. If you're in a relationship, appreciate, celebrate, be verbal and vocal about why you love them and what you need, and allow them to do the same. If we're single, stepping into confidence, being authentic, being open to new love, but being absolutely aware of your mistakes of the past and how they're still going to come in to try to test you to see whether you have learned and whether you have the boundaries. And embracing your full magnetism. How can you be more magnetic? Those self care routines, those heart meditations, those self sensual tantric practices, they have got a real good place this week. So, really sending you all deep love and hope that you can embrace this week with all the energy of hearts and red and pink and the symbolism of all that into a deeper expression of your love towards yourself and towards others. So happy Valentine's to all of you that celebrate it, or happy Love Week to all of those that resist it, but really fundamentally, as a human being, long for the deep expression of love inside and out. Blessings to you all. Have a great week.